Jamie, welcome back to Canada's Boxing Channel.
Nice to be back, Bob. How are you, mate? Welcome back to you.
I'm good. I am a little bit tired. As we said earlier on, it was a bit of a late night for me. We uh, we started our day at like 6:30 in the morning, but we had late flights. So by the time we were in the air, we were already a bit tired. And then it was 3 hours from LAX to Vancouver, then a couple of hours wait. Then we had a flight up north. And then we have an hour's drive from the airport back to where we were at. And
Whoa.
yeah, it was, I think it was 2 o'clock in the morning when we were sort of, tucked up in bed, which for me, 9:30, 10 o'clock is a late night.
Yeah,
So,
I'm like that, to be honest.
hey, I bought something when I was down there. It's the only thing I bought for myself. Hopefully you can
Yeah.
see it.
Yeah, I can see that. I can appreciate it as well. The book. Yeah. It's that's evoking memories of when we were kings, that, Bob.
Yeah, well, it's the Norman Mailer's The Fight. I haven't opened it. It's still shrink wrapped. I did see an example in the store, and I sort of flicked through it. It cost me 110 US dollars, but I think
Wow.
it's a real keeper, So
Yeah,
I'll
certainly.
uh, I'll be opening that up later and gently pawing through it.
You'd have to fax some pages to me, Bob.
I'll I'll,
I'm
I'll
poor. I
probably
can't
take
afford
I'll
110 quid.
I'll probably take a bunch of pictures and send them to you and the boys.
Yeah, there you go. Be a treat, that. That's one of the seminal boxing works, that, isn't it, that one?
Oh
So
yeah, I mean it's a real coffee table book. The thing weighs, I don't know, it weighs over 5 pounds. Like it's a heavy book. So
well, you were saying that you put on a bit of timber on whilst you've been away, so you could probably work out and read it at the same time. Do that,
yeah,
lift it into your face. You'll be all right, won't you?
I definitely have gained weight. In fact, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a video explaining, like where I am today and my goal, and then maybe every week I'll do a short video to see where I've gotten.
Yeah.
Sort of, I don't know. I'll think about it. I'm sort of embarrassed like I'd be happy if I could get back to cruiserweight limits. Right now, I'm sort of like, I'm marching towards 220, which is
Mm.
not where I want to be.
Well, Mike Tyson fought at 220, 218, 220. Do you know what I mean? You
Yeah,
could be the baddest man on the planet, couldn't you? I've
yeah, yeah, yeah. The fattest man on the planet. Yeah,
Yeah,
but
I'm just overweight in terms of boxing weights. I'm an overweight, so I know what you mean.
oh well. So,
Yeah.
I'm assuming that you have gotten over the sadness and the almost the despair you must have felt that your hero, Eggy Benn, getting beaten yesterday. How,
Yeah.
how do you feel about that, Jamie?
Conor Ban. Yeah, I'm really pleased. I'm really pleased.
I know you are.
I I listened to the fight on Talk Sport when it was on,
Yeah, that's what I was
and
doing. Yeah,
yeah, it just outlined to me just how biased the commentary was,
yeah,
because I caught up with it today and I watched it today. I wasn't going to be, no offense to anybody that did pay for it, but I've been very, very critical of the fight, and I sort of took the same stance that Simon Jordan had taken, and just thought I'm not going to give it my patronage. I'll listen to it because I'm not paying for it or anything like that. I'll listen to it, but I'll catch it afterwards. But God, that commentary was bizarre, because like you look at the actual fight and it's like, are they watching the same thing that I was? I like, even, Russ put a video out, didn't he? Russ Porky's Corner. And he said, I'm sure he said he had Eubank by 2 rounds, whereas I'm watching the fight. I had it maybe 4 or 5 rounds, Eubank. Like, Ben wasn't really doing very much. He was skipping and giving the impression that he was, active, but fainting and not throwing punches doesn't really score you points in my opinion. Well, it doesn't. It shouldn't score you points, particularly in the American sort of model. When you look at American scoring and the way they score for aggression, you got to be throwing shots and going forward effectively and everything. And the Ring magazine is obviously more of a well, it is an American publication and that. So you think they'd veer towards that sort of modality of boxing, and like Eubank just controlled it. He controlled it for me, controlled it with his jab. And whenever Benn did, get above his station a little bit more than he should have done, Benn just winged in the uppercuts and just reminded him who the big dog in the yard was. I thought,
Well,
you know,
it's really interesting that you say that because I was at the gate at LAX listening to it on TalkSport. And as you know, I very much wanted Eubank Jr. to win.
Mm.
Excuse me. I predicted a Eubank Jr. win on points, but I was listening to the commentary and I was getting quite distressed. I was thought, oh my God, this is all Conor Benn all the time. And
Yeah.
then I got to see, I guess it was I don't know if it was an illegal upload or whatever. And I still had the Talk Sport sort of stuff in my mind. And I'm looking
Mm.
at it and I'm trying to score it. And I actually thought it was like 115, 113. Well, then this morning I watched it again with no commentary on. And I think, yeah, no, absolutely. 116, 112 makes sense. You could even use the AI scoring, which was 117, 111, because
Yeah, I did more.
there was a lot of, um, you know, Ben would jump into the pocket, like he would sort of like ambush Eubank. But when he was in the pocket, he wasn't actually throwing much. He would jump in, throw a punch, then jump back out. And I think I ended up sort of being misled by the Talk Sport commentators.
He
Um,
wasn't landing either, Bob. He was throwing aggressively, yeah, but he was hitting thin air.
yeah, yeah,
You
Eubank
know,
was definitely by about round. Well, I gave Eubank the first, then I gave Ben, then Ben. But by about 4 or 5, I think Eubank had kind of figured out, okay,
yeah,
the tactics I need here are X, Y, and Z. And by then he'd managed to control Eubank. To control Ben.
yeah. He
But
was
it
pulling
was,
away, wasn't he?
yeah, it was a good fight. I mean, I was expecting a shit show, to be honest. Like I wasn't interested, and I'd made videos saying that it was crap, and I was wrong because it was a good fight. It was
It was.
entertaining. It was an entertaining scrap.
Yep.
I don't think it was overly. There wasn't a tremendous amount of skill on display there.
No, not really. And I don't think that would have been on the part of Eubank Jr. All right. And I'm sick of hearing this as well. The narrative that these are two world class fighters. No, they're not.
No, no,
Eubank.
no, no, no. I mean,
Yeah, whenever he's been at world level, Eubank has fallen short. So he wouldn't. You can't be world class just by being in the ring with another world class fighter.
no. I mean, I would say Eubank would be fringe world level.
Mm, European.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Fringe world level. And Conor Benn, well, he's never won even a regional belt. So,
No,
we,
exactly. So I
so
put comments on YouTube today actually, and on BoxRec, I put a comment on BoxRec saying, well, really, if you want to look at it, he's a more glamorized version of Campbell Hatton because
yeah,
Campbell Hatton,
yeah, that's actually a
you know,
good.
yeah, and
Now,
I put one rung because sorry to go on, Bob,
no, no,
one
no,
rung
this is
above,
good. This is good.
yeah, one rung above just because he beat some corpses of former sort of world class gatekeeper sort of fighters, which Campbell never did. But at least Campbell did box for a regional title. He got beat, but
Yeah.
he did box for a regional belt, something Conor Benn has never done. So, yeah.
How would you like if you use Hamza Shiraz as like I think it's, if you use him as a measuring stick, how would you compare Chris Eubank Jr. to Hamza Shiraz?
Um, I think he could beat Hamza Shiraz. Uh, and I said that in the last time I was on camera with Russ. Just because Hamza Shiraz is very like he's a come forward fighter.
Yeah,
But the thing is with Eubank has shown he's capable of utilizing many different styles.
yeah,
Like he seems to be he's like Flubber. It's Chris Eubank. That's the way. Do you remember that film with Robin Williams?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Well, he's like Flubber. He molds to his trainer because when he was with Roy Jones, he just seemed to morph into a bad Roy Jones impression.
yeah.
Um, I think the best version of him was with McIntyre. Is it Brian McIntyre? Bomac, where he
Yes,
was
yeah,
just, he come forward and we saw what he did to Liam Smith. Obviously, that relationship could never be sustained because Bomac stupidly brought a gun into his luggage, so he'll never be over in Britain again.
yeah.
Um,
It's just
yeah,
misunderstood.
yeah. I just think with him being a bit of a mercenary, Chris Eubank, he could go to a trainer that would be able to take out somebody like Hamza Shiraz. So, and that's a mover, like a matador, someone who,
Yeah,
well, not even a matador, someone who's good behind the jab because Bradley Skeet just uh, jabbed Hamza Shiraz's head off.
yeah.
The last fight with Shiraz,
Against
where he
Adames.
Adames
Yeah,
basically beat him with a jab, boxed his head off, won that fight, and didn't get the decision. So, he just needs to be with somebody that can just teach him. Well, not teach him, but uh, make sure that he sticks to the fundamentals, and he'd beat Shiraz quite handily, I think.
I
And he's
was.
got that aggressive uppercut as well. When you're coming in and you're like, well, I can't, I'm holding my phone. But obviously, Shiraz puts his hands up like that constantly, keeps his hands high up,
Yeah,
and head down. You're an absolute sucker for an
yeah.
uppercut,
You're
which
you're
is,
you're begging for one. You've got one written all over
yeah,
your face.
it's Chris Eubank's money punch, that one, isn't
Yeah,
it? The
it's
uppercut.
his signature move.
Yeah.
I was listening to a guy on YouTube this morning who was suggesting that Chris Eubank Jr. could go as far as maybe even fighting Canelo, and I thought that would be a bridge too far. Though
Yeah.
obviously Canelo's at the end of his career, but then again, honestly, so is Chris Eubank Jr. He's 35 years old,
Mm.
which for a non-heavyweight fighter, you
Yep.
know, there isn't that much left in him.
No,
I
and it didn't. He only needed to be. Ironically, the first fight with Eubank, where his tagline was 60%. He only really needed. Well, he was 60% last night, in my opinion,
Yeah,
because of these stipulations. And yeah, he did sign for it, and he did. I've not got loads of sympathy for Eubank because he signed the contract at the
for
end of
sure,
the day, but he was only 60%, and
sure.
to me, he beat Ben quite handily. So
If
you
there's
know,
going to be a rematch, I absolutely don't want to see him boiled down again. I think that's really
no.
harmful. And that snake, that evil slithering snake, Eddie Hearn,
Mm.
saying, "Oh, we need to boil him down even more." Like that's to me, that's saying you want this guy to suffer a medical emergency.
Where's Frank Smith in all this? That's his brother-in-law.
Yeah,
You know, like surely you can't be sat around the table with Emily. And I mean, I don't know what the family dynamics like because I think last night showed that maybe all that stuff with Chris Eubank Sr. was a ruse
yeah, yeah.
because suddenly he's there. And I'm not gonna lie, when I heard it on the radio, there it brought a smile to my face.
Oh yeah, I was super
You
pleased
know,
about it as well. Um, and you know what I thought was uh, people can say people can say, oh well, Chris Eubank Sr. was trying to make it all about himself, but there was something neat about seeing Chris Eubank Sr. standing there and doing his posing, on the wall.
yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was. I liked it.
It was great, and do you know what? He didn't really make it about himself. Yeah, he was there with the sort of pageantry and the sort of plumage in the jacket and stuff like that. But you could tell like he didn't want to be there for Junior, and he shut the gad down as well, didn't he? because
Yes.
the dad was like, oh, it's so good to see you here, and he was like, I was always going to be here for me son,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
thought, yeah, this has
And
been in the works for a while.
he also gave Radio Raheem some crap as well. He said, you're a journalist, do your job. This kind of stuff
Yeah,
shouldn't. Yeah. No.
yeah, he said that to the dad as well. He just said, look, you know, do your job. We're talking about boiling fighters down and stuff like that. It's a disgrace. You're supposed to be a journalist. Ask the questions. They're not going
Yeah.
to, are they? Because they're on the Saudi coin.
Yeah.
So
No, I like Chris Eubank Jr. Sorry, Chris Eubank Sr., the Chris Eubank.
yeah,
I like him,
yeah,
like I really liked him as a fighter, of course. And I know he's got a very eccentric, kind of quirky personality, but I like him.
yeah. He's a very, very hard man. He's not. I think the word legend is, and you might have a go at me for this, Bob, but I think he's not a legend. Like he shouldn't be labelled a legend because of his boxing career, because his boxing career did leave a lot to be desired. And this is where you're free to shout at me, but
No,
the man did. Well, he turned around and he openly said, "I would never fight Harold Bomber Graham because I can't hit him. I don't want to fight southpaws. I don't really want to fight anyone with an undefeated record." So when you look at Junior's literally just followed on in the footsteps of his dad. He doesn't really like challenging himself too much.
no,
And
I think that's fair. The word legend is absolutely overused, and you will notice I did a my top 10 middleweights of all time, and
mhm,
Mr. Eubank wasn't there.
no,
You know,
no,
he,
which he shouldn't be.
no,
He shouldn't be.
he was very, very good um, in the early 1990s. And like everybody needs a dance partner, right? Eubank,
Hmm.
Ben Eubank. It was the
Yep.
dance partner. It was
Yeah.
it sort of made both of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a
So
British boxing legend. He's a British boxing legend, maybe,
yes.
but purely because of his eccentricity. And us Brits, we love characters. Do you know what I mean? But
Well, for sure.
in terms of the world scene, he wouldn't have touched. I think Tony would have beaten Eubank. I think Michael Nunn would have beaten Eubank, and yeah, Roy Jones would have wiped the floor with him. But that's just me.
Yeah. Well, at his prime, Roy Jones, there wasn't anybody who could really beat Roy Jones, right?
No, I watched you. I've not actually watched your middleweight top 10 yet, but I watched the light heavyweight one. And yeah, I mean, you know what I think about Roy Jones. You had Roy Jones at number 5, didn't you? If memory serves me correctly,
And somewhere like
which is
that. Yeah. Yeah.
still very good. So
Yeah, because I
yeah,
was torn with with Ezra Charles, and the old mongoose, and then I was there were some people I wanted to be higher, but
yeah, but
the
you've
way
got
the
to,
way that you calculate the metrics gives you the answers. Yeah.
yeah,
Um,
exactly.
where do you think where do you think Conor Benn is going to go now? Like I heard yesterday talk of him going back down to welterweight, which he hasn't fought at for a few years.
No,
um, to challenge for the WBC world title. Where do you go? Where do you see all that going?
well, I don't want to go into another rant, Bob, because I was
Rant
that
away, man.
infuriated.
Rant away.
Yeah,
We
I
haven't
know.
spoken.
I know, but everyone knows, don't they? Everyone knows James. Well, James is, I'm Jamie on here. James with Russ, and Jamie's my name, by the way, people. Russ just likes to use it as a little pet name for me, James. But yeah, to me, I just it infuriated me because he's got this entitlement, Conor Benn. He's got this entitlement about him. Oh, it's all right. I'll just move back down and challenge for the WBC world title, right? Well, on what? What
Yeah, yeah,
in a world where meritocracy there should be meritocracy in boxing. Obviously, there's not. It's who's got the deepest pockets. In what world, Conor Benn, do you believe you deserve a shot at a world title?
yeah.
If
Who have you beaten
well, yeah,
at
who have you
welterweight
beaten?
to give you that opportunity?
Nobody. You avoided David Avanesian I think Michael McKinson was even mentioned at one point. He avoided him. Michael McKinson would have stood. I'm not sure about now because McKinson's absolutely shot to bits, and I think someone with a bit of aggression like Ortiz showed, I think would sort of make him fold a little bit. But back then, McKinson would have stood him on his head. Avanesian would have made him his absolute daddy.
Yeah, made him his girlfriend.
Yeah, he would have made him his girlfriend, exactly. So, well, Jaron Ennis, I do want to think about what he'd do to him because I still, just because he put up a valiant effort, it doesn't mean that I like him. I don't like him at all. I've sat ringside and I've commentated on fights that are central area level that are just as good as that fight last night. Just because it was a good fight doesn't mean that they're world class, or as Eddie liked to say last night, he's won some hearts now, Conor Benn. He's what did he call him? He said like he's a British boxing hero now. Well, no, he's not. He's
people's champion. Oh, that was Eddie Hearn was saying people's champion. Yeah,
how's he the people's champion?
He was booed. He was booed. I actually would like to see Conor Benn and Boots Ennis. That would be amusing. I would. That would.
Yeah.
I would like that.
I want to see Conor Benn fight Usyk, but I mean, but no, like it's just that, and you say the snake in the grass there. It's just like Hearn. I will never ever deny Hearn is the best in terms of pure promotion. Hearn's the best promoter in the world because Hearn could work, and I've said this before. Hearn could work with the Prime Minister. He's better than Alistair Campbell. At turning a bad situation into something good. And for those who don't know, Alistair Campbell was Tony Blair's spin doctor.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like Eddie Hearn, you would want him on your side. If I'm a boxer and I'm going through that situation, and he's even said for his fighters, I'll fight for you. If you're my fighter, I will be with you till the end, and he has done.
I think if I had a son or a grandson, I guess, who was getting into boxing, though, I would much rather them sign with Darth Warren because I think Warren brings fighters along better.
Yeah, no, I agree there. And you think at the top, like he'll always be at the appropriate level.
Yeah,
Frank Warren will never put him above his station.
Yeah,
he'll build him slowly, and if you're ready, you're going to be with the right opponent at the right time. So yeah, and he goes through the levels, doesn't he? So if Warren was with Conor Benn would have boxed for a Southern Area title.
Yeah, and Conor then he would have worked his way towards English, British, Commonwealth.
Yeah.
And at some point he would have been found out badly.
Yep.
Like Campbell Hatton, to be honest.
Well, yeah, back then when he was supposed to be fighting for the Southern Area, he was absolutely rubbish. I'm not gonna deny, like, he has gone on a journey and he's obviously put the work in. I'm not gonna deny that.
He's a total gym rat.
Yeah, he's a tough trainer and all that, but he showed last night you basically tried to marmalize another man. Like you made him go down in weight. There was all them shenanigans with the scales and at the weigh-in where they were filming it and people trying to start fights, and then
Billy Joe Saunders messing around with the wraps and all that. Complete nonsense.
He's a scumbag. He's a scumbag himself. I could have another rant about him. He's probably the second most unlikable character in British boxing for me.
He certainly ruined his body. The guy looks like he's a heavyweight now.
He has, yeah.
He's better shape than him. Yeah, I would say that I was at one time in better shape than him, but not now.
Last week.
Prior to visiting California. Yeah. Shall we move on to part 2?
Yeah, certainly. I'll say on part 2, Bob.
Okay, cheers, man.
All right.